What's up, nerds? All right, so this past week, Peter Safran and James Gunn, they sat down with the press and they had like a little secret meeting, which I was like, ooh, fun. I mean, I wasn't invited, so I'm like, whatever. And they just basically updated everybody on what was going on with the DC universe, with Warner Brothers and the DC universe and everything, and they filled them all in. And, it was basically what it sounds like. And I had to read a bunch of different articles because each person, like, it's not that they took different things from it, but each one reported on stuff like the Deadline article didn't mention the animation and the Variety article didn't mention something else or whatever. And I was just like, okay, so I got to read out, all this different stuff and everything. And so I'm going to summarize all of it as fast as I can and just tell you guys what I think about this kind of stuff. Okay. So I got pictures for you and all that good stuff. Okay. So the first thing that happened was they went which was the yearly schedule for DC. And so they talked about there was going to be 2 live action movies a year and one animated movie a year. Which right there, I already go, I don't know, maybe 1 animated movie and then maybe 1 live action movie. But at the same time, I'm like, it depends. Cause I'm like, if Superman came out and then like this year and then, after that, say like the Supergirl movie came out, I would be all for that. I'd be like, okay, let's do this. The animated movie, I think that DC has really dominated when it comes to animated movies over Marvel. I mean, if you ever watch those Marvel animated movies, they suck, but for the most part. But the animated DC shows, they're usually good, not bad, And so then they also said that there will be 2 live action shows and 2 animated shows, which this also I go might be a little too much. It might be fine depending on if they can keep the quality up compared to say Marvel. Now, I haven't liked any of the Marvel shows. I have not been shy about that, but I don't I hope that Warner Brothers and DC and James Gunn have learned their lessons from Marvel, because what happens is you've got too much going on. If this is one overall cinematic universe, if you've got just too many things going on, I just think it just crumbles like a house of cards. And I just don't think it works. And the animated shows, I'm fine with the animated shows just because like Creature Commandos, I mean, is good. I liked it, but we'll see what they do with all that. Okay. So then the next thing that they said was that this was going to be writer director driven versus a slate driven, which I was like, okay. I'm all like, I don't know how I feel about that, because I think that when it comes to creative people like directors and writers, I just go, they can't just be given carte blanche. I'm like, I'm sorry, but they just can't. And I'm like, you guys are just letting these people do whatever the hell they want. And I personally am just like, I don't think that's a good thing. So yeah. So then they talked about what would be coming out, next after that. And then they said that the first thing after Superman would be Clayface, and the Clayface movie. That would be the next movie. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about that, but because like the Clayface movie, I'm not against it because they got a director now. They picked a director, and I'm not sure how I feel about the Clayface movie. Like, I'm all for it because I kind of like this horror, kind of thing with the Clayface, but the budget is real low. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it just sounds like it's not going to be the Clayface movie I'm personally interested in. But at the same time, I'll still see it. So then somebody also asked him about the James Mangold Swamp Thing movie. Now, I have to just say, I love Swamp Thing. I am quite excited for Swamp Thing. But the problem with Swamp Thing is Swamp Thing is very niche. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you're a Swamp Thing fan, great. But the problem is, we travel in a large group of one. There's not too many Swamp Thing, people out there, like fans out there. Now, they had the Swamp Thing show, which was very good. I loved that show. It was awesome. It ended too soon. And they said that the script wasn't ready, and James Mangold was taking his time. And I go, well, then maybe James Mangold shouldn't be writing it. Like, maybe James Mangold should just step away. I don't have a problem with James Mangold, except for his Indiana Jones. But I just go, listen, if it's not a priority for James Mangold, maybe James Mangold shouldn't be doing it. I feel like you should really get somebody that loves Swamp Thing and that wants to do Swamp Thing like full speed ahead. So one thing that I think that this might suffer from overall is, this overarching cohesiveness. I think that when you have, like, for instance, when you have Marvel, okay, in the MCU, and I know I'm comparing it, but we have to compare it. When you have Marvel, they have an overarching, that first three phases, three phases, was basically Thanos was the main bad guy, and each movie connected in a way. And I think that that's what we need to have here. And they did say that they did want this to culminate in an Avengers style movie. And I think that that is a good idea. I think that, like, the Avengers movie, love that movie. So good when they do the circle and they're all like, loading their guns and getting ready to fight. I thought that was great. And I can't wait to see that. But I think that what they're doing is they're trying to make it look like this is what we expect it to look like. We expect, the 7 and everything right here. You've got the 3 main Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, and then you have the other characters, which will be showing up. But I think that the way that James Gunn is going, we're expecting a Justice League animated show lineup, but what it really is going to be is it's going to be Justice League Unlimited. Where you have all these people, just you can just pick one out of the hat and you can just throw him in the movie. And do I think that this is a good idea? I don't know. But at the same time, I've always said it before, I trust James Gunn, but this seems like a lot to me, like a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not quite sure exactly how this is going to turn out. But again, I do trust James Mangold. So we'll see how that turns out. So they also talked about the next movie coming out, which is, of course, Superman, which comes out in July, which I'm excited for. Superman. I think it looks great. I think that it's absolutely fantastic. They talked, I'm not going to get too much into this, but they talked about they were going to do a Barbie style campaign with all this crap and everything. And I'm like, I don't know, because if you look with the Super Bowl, they touted that they were like the Super Bowl was going to be, they were going to have a trailer or whatever. And they said, and they did the Puppy Bowl. And they had crypto on the Puppy Bowl. But it was, there wasn't anything new there. There wasn't anything great. It was just, James Gunn talked about, adopting puppies and everything, which was just great. But I'm all like, okay, who cares? And we didn't really get anything, of substance during the Super Bowl. I mean, the only thing we got was this, which was this bowl haircut thing from what's his face. And I'm just like, this really isn't that great, in my opinion. Like, I'm all like, okay, fine, whatever, it's fine. But one thing that they did say that I found interesting was they said that they were not going to be going to Comic-Con this year. And I think that that is a bad choice. I think that if you're not going to go to Comic-Con, like, Hall H is for Marvel and DC. And they said, and they basically were just like, well, Superman's going to be over with by that point and everything. It'll already be out. I believe it's coming out before that. And I go, so what? You still have, I mean, Supergirl. You could still talk up Supergirl. Supergirl is halfway, they said, is halfway through filming. And I'm all like, you're telling me you can't talk about Supergirl during that? You can't talk about Lanterns, You can have some first looks in there. There's nothing you can talk about when it comes to Comic-Con. I'm like, that's ridiculous, James Gunn. You can. Okay. So the next thing they talked about was Batman. And they talked a little bit more about the Clayface movie. Okay. And again, like I said, they set a budget. I don't remember what the budget is. And they picked a director. The bald guy, I can't remember his name. They picked the director, and I just have to say, a small piece of me is like, I don't know about this Clayface movie. I'm having a little bit of doubt about the Clayface movie, just because I go, maybe Clayface should be a show. Now, granted, it could be a part of the Batman 2. Now, if Clayface shows up in Batman 2, fine, that's fine, I guess, and everything. But because I do want that, like, I don't know how I did not like the Batman. I didn't like it. But, and we'll talk about that in just a second, Pattinson. But I didn't like it. But at the same time, I go, the Penguin show was really good. And I'll talk about that in just a second also. The Penguin show was pretty good. And so therefore, I just go, okay, maybe, if he's in there, that's fine. But they don't have a full script and everything, and they start filming late this year in 2025. So we'll see what it is. And they also asked if there was going to be a Penguin season 2. Now, when they asked this, they asked if, they were just like, if Colin Farrell's interested in doing it. And Colin Farrell, I believe he said at the Screen Actors Guild Awards that he said they pretty much did what they wanted. They did what they were going to do with it. And they is this going to be, he said maybe or whatnot. Now, I think if you're not going to do a Penguin season 2, what I've heard a lot of people say is, why don't you take Batman villains and make them the season 2, different Batman villains, like Clayface. You can make that into a season 2 of the Penguin and make it like an anthology. And another one was floated around was Catwoman for season 2. And I'm just like, that's actually, I don't like Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, but I'm like, I'm interested in seeing a Catwoman show. It could be interesting and everything, because if you remember, and that could be like the overarching thread, because if you remember, you have the Falcone girl, and she got that letter from Selena at the end of that show, and they could totally hook that in. They could totally hook that in, and that's the overarching character / that kind of connects the shows. Maybe, I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. So then they talked a little bit about The Brave and the Bold, which I have to be honest with you, I think this sounds like a good thing to do, because what they also talked about was how Pattinson was highly unlikely to be in the Superman universe. Like, this was going to be an Elseworld. They also talk about an Elseworld logo that they're trying to create for when a movie pops up, you see the Elseworld thing, it's not a part of the main universe. I think it's a little confusing, but at the same time, I'm like, what are they going to do? Try to end this movie and everything? Because the people that love the Pattinson movie, they love it. And I'm all like, listen, good for you. I'm glad that you liked it. No judgment. I just didn't like it. So The Brave and the Bold. So it's got Damian Wayne in there, and he's the Robin. But one thing that I really question about this is, if you have Damian Wayne, you've got to have some of the other Robins. You have to. Because how can you have Damian Wayne if you don't have, you have to have Dick Grayson, you have to have Jason Todd, and you have to have Tim Drake. Okay. You especially have to have Tim Drake. And why do you have to have Tim Drake? Because Damian, he challenges Tim Drake and almost kills Tim Drake. And that's a part of his story. And I'm just like, how can you not have Tim Drake in there? That's ridiculous. They also said that Batman could show up earlier. And then they also talked about how, they don't have a Batman cast yet. So, which I'm all like, okay, cool. But, what are you going to do? Okay. So then the next thing they talked about in this presentation was they talked about the animation that they're going to be doing. So the animation that they're going to start, they talked about how they're going to do the dynamic duo. That was going to be their movie. And that's not coming out until 2027, which I'm all like, okay, great. Now, this is a little bit of mixture of claymation and models along with animation and everything. And it's two different Robins, Dick Grayson and I believe Damian Wayne or whatnot. I don't like this, but at the same time, I find it very interesting. It's like a little bit of stop motion animation, which I personally like that, but it's like robots and everything. Like, there's a little, they're robot-y and everything. It's a little weird, but at the same time, I'm all like, I would definitely watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's interesting. So there's that. Now, as far as series goes, because that's the movie that they're going to do. The next series they're going to do is Blue Beetle. Okay. They're going to do a Blue Beetle animated show. And I don't know how this is going to fit into the overall thing. I mean, James Gunn did say that Superman is the first movie in the DCU, but Blue Beetle is the first character. And I don't know if this is going to connect to the movie that came out. The movie was not that great, and I don't see why they would do a Blue Beetle movie. But also, the Blue Beetle show, I mean, it could be cool, but I mean, I'm wondering if these shows that I'm about to mention coming up next is going to be just slated towards children, which I go is cool. But at the same time, I just go, I don't know, man. I feel like kids aren't really interested like they used to be. and that kind of stuff. So the next show that they had mentioned was My Adventures with Green Lantern. Now, this sounds kind of like a take on My Adventures with Superman, that TV show that's come out, which I know some people that like that show. I tried to watch that show. I got like 4 episodes in. I was like, not interested. So I just was like, I'm going to bail. So this does have Jessica Cruz as the main character, you know. I like those big booty Latinas, you know what I'm saying? My big booty Latinas. And she's going to be a high schooler. Now, this part, again, I just go, this kind of skews maybe a little bit younger, but maybe it will be like this new TV show, the Superman, My Adventures with Superman show, and they can like connect. I'm not quite sure. And we'll see how that works out. I'm not quite sure how to work out or whatnot. So this next one that they got going is superpowers. Now, this dude, I have no idea how this got greenlit. Okay, so this takes place in like a high school situation, but so you've got Principal Martian Manhunter, and he is teaching the next generation, which is of superheroes, and it's Lightning, Flash, Plastic Man, Aqua Girl, Green Lantern, and Terra. Now, it didn't mention which Flash it was, because the Flash, like he's a complete Lightning, Flash, Plastic Man. Those are a completely older generation compared to Aqua Girl, Green Lantern, depending on which Green Lantern. I'm assuming it's the Jessica Cruz Green Lantern, but I don't know. And Terra. I also don't know how Terra got in this mix. She's, completely different. And compared to all of these, it's just a weird, in my opinion, it sounds like a weird show. And I don't know how this is gonna turn out. We shall see, but I don't know. This show I don't have hope for, but what are you gonna do? And so the last one they talked about was Starfire. Now, Starfire, this one right here just sounds like a little bit of an iffy to me, and this is why. Okay, so first off, the concept is it's Starfire before she comes to Earth or on her way to Earth, and she escapes Tamaran, her home planet. Which a small piece of me goes, that's interesting. I wonder if that would be great. But it's going to include Crush, which is Lobo's daughter, which I'm all like, oh, and Lobo's going to be in the Supergirl movie, and I'm all like, I don't know how this is all gonna mesh together. That's what I'm talking about, cohesiveness and an overarching thing. I don't know how this is going to work out, because I'll talk about the Teen Titans movie in a little bit, but there's going to be a Teen Titans movie, and I'm all like, okay, so it's like whatever. So it's going to have Crush, Fern, which I'm all like, who is Fern? I had never heard of Fern. She's like a plant person. And then Princess Amethyst, from Gem World, which I had talked about Princess Amethyst in my season 1 review of Creature Commandos. I'll leave it in the iCard section. You can go check it out, but it's just crazy. And they talk about how they're going to just like find space dolphins or some shit like that. And I'm all like, what is going on here? And the way that they talked about this show, it sounded like it was going to be a lot like that She-Ra show from Netflix, which again, that one right there, I could not watch that show. I got like 4 or 5 episodes in. I was like, pass on this bullshit. I am not interested. So then the next thing they talked about was movies. Okay. And they went on to talk about the first movie, which was Sergeant Rock. Now, I just have to say, I don't even know why they're making this movie. This movie I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's like, I'm not interested in a Sergeant Rock movie. And I don't even know if I'm going to watch it if it comes out. So it looks like Luca Guadagnino is going to direct, right? And the writer for this is going to be Justin Kuritsky. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he wrote Queer, and then that other one with Timothée Chalamet that Luca Guadagnino wrote. And Luca Guadagnino has said, I want to branch out and I want to be a commercial director, and I just don't want to direct. He wrote Challengers and did Challengers, and I think he said he just doesn't want to do just LGBTQ plus content. And I'm all like, okay, I get that. They also asked about Daniel Craig, and they were like, Daniel Craig was never signed on. Like, he was never signed on to play Sergeant Rock. So it sounds like Daniel Craig is a no-go for that. Probably because Queer didn't do that great. And so we got the Sergeant Rock movie, and I'm all like, okay, great. So the next one they talked about was the Teen Titans movie. Now, again, they're doing a Starfire show, and I'm like, okay, great. This has got Nightwing and Cyborg and Starfire and everything. And I'm assuming, whatever. But Anna Nogoria, I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. She wrote the Supergirl script. She is all in on this movie. Like, she's like, I want to do this movie. And I guess they're all like, great, you wrote the Supergirl movie. We're just going to do this. We'll do Teen Titans for you. And I'm all like, okay, whatever. I'm like, I don't know. It sounds like a little bit of nonsense because you've got Wally West Flash in here. If he's in this movie, if it's just those three that I mentioned just now, which is Starfire, Cyborg, and Nightwing, how does Nightwing fit in here with the Batman movie? And then how does, Starfire with her TV show? Because remember, they said if you voice the animated stuff, you're going to star as the live action. I just go, this is just, again, so convoluted. Like, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. And that's the part that scares me about this a little bit. So then the next movie that they were also going to do was this super fun Bane Deathstroke movie. I had talked about this a little bit ago. I'll leave the story in the iCard section. But they're going forward with this Bane and Deathstroke movie, which I'm like, okay, listen, don't get me wrong. I like Bane. I like Deathstroke. I also talked about how YouTuber Grace Randolph had said that there was a scene at the end of Peacemaker with Bane in it. And I'll leave that in the iCard section too, how he was supposed to have a scene at the end of Peacemaker and everything, which I thought the scene sounded pretty good. But James Gunn took it out apparently and everything. I'm like, whatever, you got to do what you got to do. But this movie, and I think that, who Dave Bautista is really wanting to be in this, and he would be a good Bane. I think that Dave Bautista as Bane, that would be my choice. Deathstroke, I don't know who would be a good Deathstroke. I know that Joe Manganiello played him in the Snyderverse, but I don't see him as Wilson Slade, but what do I know? I don't care as long as it's cool. We'll see how this movie turns out. And then the last movie they talked about was The Authority. Now, I am not interested in this fucking movie at all. The Authority was not a part of the DC universe, and then it got bought out, and they just kind of got meshed into the DC universe, and I'm like, whatever, it's fine. But they want to do this Authority show. And I mean, they've already got, it's just the lack of cohesion, and the overarching thing is because Maria Gabriella plays the engineer in the Superman movie. And I'm all like, how is this all going to mix in well? Like, how's this all going to work out? Like, I do not understand it. It's, again, a little convoluted. I'm not mad about it. It's just, I have no idea what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to move over to the other shows. And this is the last part of it and everything. But they talk about the other shows. So the first show that they're going to do is Peacemaker season 2. And that's already wrapped. It's ready to go. And I can't remember when that's coming out or whatnot. I believe that's in August of this year. So not for quite some time. I'm excited for it. I loved Peacemaker season 1. I'll leave the playlist in the iCard section. Loved it. I can't wait for season 2. I think it's going to be fantastic. I like James Gunn's writing. I like the character, all that good stuff. So then, and then they talked about a little bit about Lanterns, and that will start filming and everything, and that will come out early 2026. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Out of everything that's coming out, this is the thing that I'm most excited about. It sounds very interesting. It sounds cool. It sounds, like a murder mystery, but on Earth, but with Green Lanterns and stuff. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here. I just have one little bit of I'm not going to like it, is if they turn Hal Jordan into the bad guy and kill off Hal Jordan, like right away, too sweet. I'm going to be like, that's not, I don't like it. I don't like it. But I like Jon Stewart also. So we'll see. Okay, so then the shows that they talked about, which I'm at the same time, I'm all like, I don't know what's going on here. The first one was Amanda Waller. Now, I just want to say right now, I like Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and I like if they do the trial of Amanda Waller, that would be great. That's a good comic book. It's great. It's really good. I don't know how that could be turned into a whole show. We'll see. But at the same time, I trust James Gunn with this portion of the program. I think that he'll do a good job. And I will be watching that show for sure. And everything. But they're saying they're having a little bit of trouble, getting a whole schedule and all that stuff. And I'm all like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they talked about Paradise Lost. Apparently they're going forward with this one with these, these Amazonian bitches and everything, which again, I'm fine with it. But at the same time, I just go, do we really need this show? Do we really need this show? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think we need this Paradise Island show. I don't. I think we just need a Wonder Woman project. I think it should do a Wonder Woman movie. I don't understand why we're doing this. I really don't. But at the same time, I go, all right, let's see what happens here. So it's so crazy. I just don't understand, but whatever. And then the last movie or show that they talked about was Booster Gold. Again, I do not understand why they're doing this one because we don't need a Booster Gold show. I mean, the only time I liked Booster Gold was when he was with Blue Beetle. I'm like, because their comedic, back and forth with each other was great. But I mean, you don't have Ted Cord as the Blue Beetle here. I just don't understand what's going on here. It just sounds so convoluted and crazy to me that I'm just like, I am not interested in this. But at the same time, if James Gunn writes it and it's good, I'll watch it. And so that's the whole breakdown of the meeting that they had with the press. I think that a lot of this stuff sounds interesting. Some of it not so much. I'm going to be watching a lot of these and covering them. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to cover all of them. I probably won't be covering some of the animated shows. Like I might watch them, but the animated shows, I'll tell you right now, if I get like a couple episodes in and it's just dog shit, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I can't handle that stuff. But we'll see how this turns out and everything. Like I've always said, I trust in James Gunn. I think he's really talented and I like his writing. I've liked everything he's done in the past. So we'll see how it turns out and everything. I just don't know. Like I said, it's gotta be cohesive or it's gonna crumble if it's not. But tell me what you guys thought about this. Did you like this? Do you think what sounds most interesting to you out of all of this? I mean, because I think a lot of this stuff does sound interesting. I'm just not quite sure if it's going to work out. But tell me what you guys think about it. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.